Alright, back to Project Nickel and Dime. The whole heart of this project is the small block Ford 302 V8. I'm swapping out the 6-cylinder 200. So the engine block is a 1968 block. It's been bored 40 over and it's been fit for a retrofit hydraulic roller cam. The cam is a Ford Racing B303 cam. It has a 480 lift on the intake and exhaust. The cylinder heads I got are 1987 to 95 Ford 302 heads. Those are also equipped for hydraulic roller cams as far as the springs and valves. The intake manifold will be an Edelbrock Performer 289 302. I will be going with a Scorpion roller rocker arm. It's a 1.6. I will be using ARP head bolts and intake bolts to put this all together. I will be using a Pertronix igniter, which replaces the points on the stock distributor for 1960s cars. It's very common, very easy to use and install. And I will also be using a Edelbrock 8841 small block Ford water pump. I want to keep all this cool. And I will be topping off the induction system with a Holley 600 CFM electric choke carburetor, which is basically very easy to use, very easy to replace, fix, parts are everywhere. And I will be cooling the whole system down as far as the radiator goes with a Meridyne high performance electric universal fan. And I already have a video on that as far as the custom shroud goes. So let's get started on putting this together. Short block back from Holeshot Performance. Chris Barlow did the bottom end, reworked the top to accommodate hydraulic roller camshafts. We put the spider in, machined this 2 cap screws in because this is an early model 302. This is a 1969 block, so it's been retrofitted. I've got a Ford Motorsport cam. It's a 480 lift, about a 260 duration cam. These are roller lifters, are from Comp. Double roller timing chain. I'll obviously have to put the eccentric on. And the bore's been cleaned out to 40 over with the hone. No problems there, so that's all been fixed. So now I got to dig up some heads, gaskets, and we're good to go. Alright, here's a tech tip for finding top dead center when setting the rocker arms after you put the timing cover on, because you won't be able to see the alignment of the dots on the camshaft. So what I've done is I've lined up the dots with the regular ratchet, verified that the piston is raised up all the way. That's number 1 at top dead center. And what I'm going to do at the back is just use a spare bolt and bolt on, in this case, a piece of coat hanger wire, and I'm going to mark the back side of the crankshaft here with some liquid paper, and I'll leave this on and after I get the heads on and get the push rods measured and set, that way I have a visual indicator on the back of the block for top dead center. And there's my mark. Keep it simple, but just another piece of information, so that way you can keep track of your orientation of where's top dead center while you're rotating and putting the engine together. Alright, when shopping for a timing cover, places to look is the water passages. Now, I got this one when I got the used 302 engine. Doesn't look too bad on the back side overall. It's the front side right here, and that is going to leak. There's like a 1/16 of an inch there. It's pitted on the inside. And going to the swap meet today, I found this guy, which looks great here on the outside. This is a newer casting. This is a 79, and this other one was a 68. So the 79 has taller bosses for better retention to the block. It still has the screw-on timer mark. It's just generally a stronger, better die cast. But once again, looking at surface areas for the water passages, I got about back to my 1/16 of an inch on the other side. So this thing's basically junk. 35 bucks down the toilet. So paying too much attention to one side. Good times. Alright, well, looking at my new replacement timing cover. Definitely aftermarket. Much tighter, cleaner die cast. Same, similar casting as the 1970s version. Thing to note though was the difference in the casting diameter of the front seal as compared to the 1968 version. This is the replacement, so I guess I'll just have to figure out how far in it goes to get seated. But as far as the water passages go, it's much cleaner. Product in Mexico, but overall it's very similar to the 68. Shouldn't be any problem. And as you can see, I've got quite the collection now. So I will mask off what gets exposed to any threads or water or anything like that, and shoot it with some primer and put some Ford dark glue on it. Make it look good and match the rest of the block, and we'll be set. So cool timing cover. Alright, got a shot of some primer. Not horribly exciting, of course, and now I'll shoot it with some Ford dark glue. It'll look like that. Beautiful and clean and brand new. Clean castings, no corrosion, no problems. That's the way we like it. Okay, here's the new timing cover. Cleaned up. Brand new. 60 bucks on eBay. So, clean casting. More importantly are the areas around the water passages. So, it's all tight and clean. And so what you got to do, you got to invest in new parts. Alright, decided to pull out the intake manifold and check out what I'm going to need. I did scrounge up some parts. This would be a vacuum port for manifold vacuum. Here's another manifold vacuum port. I'll use this one for the brake power booster. These other bosses are for linkage. This one's going to be for my mechanical temperature gauge, so that'll go there. Decided to keep the factory heater, so this is my heater port, and the other port for the heater will be not this one, but the other outlet that goes to the water pump, which you hear there's two outlets to the water pump. One goes to this elbow, it's the bypass, and the other hose goes to the other side, the other end of the heater. So that will be the other side of this loop. So just checking out what I need to do to get my mechanical gauges set, and how I'm going to route these, because sometimes mechanical is the best way to go. Alright, real quick, I'm checking the orientation of my bolts for proper bolt length that goes through the timing cover. This is a different year, this is like a Dorman style replacement. I want to figure out which bolts need to be the correct length for each application, for each location. Basically, they're a variety for the small block Ford here for the pump and the timing cover are 5/16 by 2 inches, 2.5, all the way up to about 5 inches. So, or is it 5.5? I can make a list later, but as you can see, I've got different things going on here as far as the pointer and the cover itself, and I need to figure out where this lower alternator bracket mounts to, because the car didn't originally have this. It's a V8, so it's new. I can't just refer to an old picture. If it goes underneath the pump here, this will have to be placed first before I can actually put the pump on, because the bolt won't clear this distance. So I need to do a little more research on this lower alternator bracket, but the top one logically does go here, as well as the power steering. And there's the refurbished pump, and the image I'm working with shows the top bracket, and I can see a hint of the lower one, but it diminishes back here behind the pulley, and the power steering pump at the top bolt here, and then basically just let the design follow where the hole goes, and then that's the configuration. So pictures help, but I gotta go do some more research for this lower alternator bracket and bolt, and then I can hopefully do one more run at the hardware store and get what I need. Alright, did some research and find out that alternator bracket goes to this boss on the outside of the pump, and it is lined up. So when I get the alternator on there, and I obviously get the angle right, but it is lined up. It's parallel with the top bracket, but that's the location I need. Thankfully, it's accessible to the outside of the pump, not underneath the water outlet, which would obviously be a problem. So at least Ford engineers put the brackets up on top, so that's cool. This is a 3/8 by, probably can get away with a 3/8 by 1.5 inch bolt. And I'm off to the hardware store for that as well. So in the meantime, I've labeled these two bolt locations so I know not to torque those down until I get my brackets on, and I know those placed, so that way I have an idea of what all is going to work for this, because I don't want to have to undo anything. Cool. Okay, here's a quick overview for installing the front timing cover. Got some lacquer thinner to clean the gasket surfaces. I've got a picture I found online for reference for where bolts go, which is going to help so I don't have to torque down every bolt. Shop manual for torque specs, probably the most valuable piece of information you could own. Various sockets, assembly lube, gasket cinch, gaskets for the water pump. The water pump itself, I went ahead and labeled some areas for bolts so I know reference for sizes, so I don't stick in long bolts so they don't need to be, because that can get kind of tricky, and the engine itself. So I'll get started with the water pump and put some Teflon tape on the water outlets here and go ahead and install the back surface gasket. Next up is the timing chain cover. and seal surface and the backside. Use a razor blade on this. Go a little bit quicker. Alright. Next up is the front seal. A little bit of the sealant on the outside. Get yourself a block of wood, rubber mallet. Alright, there you go. Like that. Now I'll put some assembly lube on the chain. We're going to apply some assembly lube on the inside, silicone sealant in the keyway, and motor oil on the outside. For our purposes, we just want to line up the seal. Okay, what you're going to want to do is use the damper to help line up the cover, because the cover can still move around as you're tightening it. So I'm trying to use it as a guide so it won't leak. So you're going to put engine assembly lube on the inside surface, and then when I do the final install, I'll put some silicone sealant on the keyway and some light thin coating of motor oil on the outer surface. I'll get these started, torquing down 12 foot-pounds, 12 to 15. This guy goes into the water jacket, so I'll use a little Permatex thread sealant. Coat this because we don't like leaks. That guy goes up here. That's your timing marker. That. Of course, I gotta get this. I think I'm ready for the pump. Break the 3 bolts, and then I can put the damper on. Cool.